In a city home to creatives of all kinds, fashion from Indigenous designers became prominent in Vancouver over the past few years. Yolanda Skelton is one of the many designers who craft across the city.
Pattern.
Her story begins at a young age with regalia sewn for her by her mother, grandmother, and auntie, a tradition that she continued once she became an auntie herself.
I'm Gigsan from the House of Hapkwar of the Fireweed clan, and my traditional name is Sagay Lux.
Much like Yolanda, Valerie Davidson Orr's story started at a young age. Her passion led to her creating Giggy's beads.
Started beading when I was very young. I used to watch my aunties bead, and it's just I'm an Anishinaabe, so I grew up in Manitoba, in Winnipeg, and moving forward, I moved out to the West Coast, and I started beading a lot more, and my beading became really part of my healing journey.
Indigenous fashion pieces stand apart with traditional storytelling. Without the limitation of trends, designers can weave generations of stories seamlessly into contemporary designs. For Yolanda, her designs began as blankets, inspired by an important figure in her life.
My grandma talked about, her name was Lily Jackson. Her name was Nagwa, and she had all of our traditional stories and the names that went with them. And so she would tell us what would go on our blankets. So she would say, okay, this is the crest that needs to go on this one from this story, and then I would create a design, and then I would make it.
Valerie's beading also began as a story.
I like to do storytelling jewelry for everybody. Everybody has their own stories that they come to me with, and I try to pair up something that will emanate that for them.
Stories connect individuals, but fashion empowers the community. The first Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week, a project started by Jolie Mitten in 2017, brought the community closer together.
And seeing my stuff go down the runway in that beautiful venue and at Queen Elizabeth in that atrium area, it's just gorgeous. And watching them walk along and then seeing, see all of my friends and family that came to the show. So many people that wanted to be there. It was packed outside. I wish the venue was bigger, but it was so nice for our Indigenous people to see our work on a runway, that caliber of show, and just see how it has gone from just, how we have things in the feast hall to out on the runway, right? So that it's showing that we can have our clothing in different kinds of ways, and it's different than like having a t-shirt with a design on it, right? So just taking it up a notch to the couture kind of stuff. Clothing on a hanger is just clothing on a hanger, but when you have the models and all the makeup, all the people coming together, it's not just about my clothes, it's about the collective group of people bringing it to life, from the photographers, the videographers, all of those people. Everybody plays an integral part to making the show happen.
I really loved seeing the collaboration of all the artists and all the beautiful designs and the local artists, and how everybody would just come together and uplift each other. The highlight of the day for myself was seeing my earrings come down the runway on all paired up with the designs, and knowing that this was bringing so much awareness as well. It was really incredible to see.
Oh gosh, I have no words to describe the first year of Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week 2017. It was like a euphoric feeling, seeing 3,000 people in the crowd and watching our elders, because we put all elders in the front row, and watching them cry and have an emotional reaction to these young Indigenous people come through so strong on the runway. It's, you can't describe that feeling of like the oppression and then finally being like, oh, like this is, there's some tangible hope here. Back in my grandma's day, it wasn't okay to be Indigenous. Back in my mom's time, it wasn't okay to be Indigenous. So that is like another huge reason Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week exists, is to like educate people about beauty and like how that transcends through race. When I think about Indigenous fashion design, I feel like people who have like tokenized or appropriate or borrowed Indigenous fashion. Like even when I was working as a model, I would see in Asia people using our icons and patterns and stuff like that, and I'd be like, whoa, like this is strange. Like I know this is connected to this community, and then seeing it overseas being duplicated for you know, some kind of fashion brand. I just saw young Indigenous girls not being in touch with who they were authentically. They were kind of looking up to like Disney characters and like Hannah Montana, like all these different like childhood stars, and none of them kind of came from the same background as they did.
What was neat for me was the moment my niece saw one of the pieces go down the runway, and at the end of the show, she was grade 10 at the time. I think she was grade 10 because she just graduated last year, and she said, "Auntie, when I graduate, can you make that for me for my graduation?" And that was a really special moment for me because I was like, yes, I can. I can make that for you. And I did. And she looked absolutely beautiful in it. And one of the ladies, one of the mothers or grandmothers of one of the other students, she just looked at her and she just started to cry because she just saw how beautiful she was in her traditional. It was like not wearing your regalia like a button blanket, but wearing your regalia, but in fashion. The art and the things that I create start a dialogue with people. You know, I have a coat that you know, I wear around, and everywhere I go, people ask me about it, and they're like, you know, what are those crests, and you know, what does it mean? And so I can stop and have this really great dialogue with a person, and they learn a little bit about Indigenous culture.
Vancouver Indigenous Fashion Week has the potential to heal a lot of people.
It's like reconciliation in action.